Welcome to the Connect Like Minds podcast. I'm your host, Sharice. I interview people making a difference in their communities and in their creative spaces. Today's special guest is a Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, and label owner. Welcome to the Connect Like Minds podcast, James Artissen.
Hey, what's up?
It's so good to have you on today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So we're gonna jump right into the interview. So can you tell everyone where you're from?
So originally I'm from Queens, New York. Been traveling my whole life, so it's kind of hard to even tell where I should be claiming, but Queens, New York is where it started from.
Okay, okay, cool. How was life growing up in New York?
Uh, New York is, New York. It's fast paced, it's creative, it's innovative, especially, when I was coming up. It was a lot different in the sense of the camaraderie in music, especially in different genres. Of course, hip hop and R&B, of course, but it wasn't as diverse as it is now. So back then, it was a lot more of the gatekeeping and a lot more of the funneling of if you don't go through this channel, then you're not going to get here type of thing. So it was just a different time, but it was cool for me because I've always been a sponge, so to speak. So I've always was learning about the technical part of music and the creative aspect of it. And once I kind of even decided on, okay, I think this is the path that I want to go on. My mind was like, okay, how do I make that happen? This is 7 8 year old talking like that. And then as time progressed, you just climb up that ladder.
Wow. So did you come from a musical background or musical family?
Actually, no. I didn't have any family members that did music like that. I didn't have um anybody in the family that was musically inclined. It was just kind of me just loving music because it was always in the house. It was always
Mhm.
in around. It was in the vicinity. So just me being a music lover just kind of took its toll, you know?
I guess my next question would be, well, where did you get that hustle from? Because you learned that at 8 years old. So, thinking like that, did you get that mentality from your parents?
um I think the drive and the hustle mentality, so to speak, kind of came from probably my parents, but also just me being around other people that had that mindset. And I've always been a go-getter. Like, I've always been the type that, hey, if I don't know something, I'm gonna go learn it. Or if I see something that I like, I'm gonna learn as much about it as I possibly can. And that just stuck with me, throughout my life. But um when it comes to the music part, it's just really me motivating myself.
That's what's up. Did you grow up with any siblings or are you the only child?
I have one sibling. I have a younger sister.
Okay. How was that growing up with a younger sister? Were you always the protector or was she your protector? I have an older brother, so.
Mostly me being the protector, but the other side to it is not even just her, but most of my family. If you're not in the music space or the entertainment space, so to speak, most likely they're not going to understand that space. So they may have seen me do, a plethora of things throughout the years, but until they fully understand it, they're not going to understand you.
Mhm.
Sometimes that could be a challenge and a battle, especially when you're dealing with family members where, they don't quite get your career or they don't quite understand um, your your goals,
Yeah.
or even the hats that you wear.
Yeah, that's true. So when did you realize that you had a gift for singing?
So the interesting part is in the beginning, it was starting off as songwriting. So before I became a solo artist, it was strictly songwriting and music production. And later down the line, audio engineering as well. But the foundation was songwriting. And, once I found myself getting well equipped with song structure, then that's when the music production part came into the part of, okay, I need to finish putting the pieces together of the puzzle. So that's where the full songs came about for me to start pitching to artists and executives and so forth and so forth. And then until probably 2017, I was working with a gentleman by the name of International Nova, who is now a Latin artist. At the
Yeah, I
time,
know him.
yeah, yeah, shout out to Nova. A lot of people don't realize, but me and him were actually a group at one point. And the
Wow.
name of the group was called Kings X2. This was in 2017. I never forget it. He one day he came to me and proposed the idea of us doing a group situation because we were doing a couple songs here and there. Because at the time I was just demoing stuff for him for his project,
Mhm.
and we just kind of kept certain records. And this particular song that we had was which was called "Wine for Me" was the song that we decided, hey, we might want to do something with this. So we put the single out. This was about November of 2017. We put it under
Mhm.
King's X2, which was myself and Nova. About a month later, we debuted at number 10 on the Billboard charts.
Wow, that's
And
amazing there.
so that was my introduction as being an artist, not even a solo artist yet, but just being an artist, period. Anybody ever hearing my voice on a record. And once we disbanded, that's when my solo artist career came to fruition in 2018. So my first single was called Move, which features Houdini. And then the rest
Right.
is history.
Wow. Okay, that's what's up. Now I guess we got too far ahead because before we get to your music career and everything, I wanted to take it all the way back to like while you were growing up, high school, things like that. Can you tell us how you got connected and mentored by Dallas Austin when you were younger?
um, so at the time I was in high school, in Atlanta, Georgia, and this particular high school had a music program that was funded and pretty much put together by Dallas. And we had a studio in the school, pretty much probably 3 or 4 days out the week after school. We would have these programs just to kind of learn about songwriting, music production, softwares, hardware gear, just to kind of learn the different aspects. We had a professor there that she was actually a female professor, which was different as well. I'm like, there's not really many female audio professors,
For
so that was
sure.
pretty cool. So yeah, this was probably for about a year that we had the program, and it was cool. Had a chance to meet him once back then when we had the program, and once we graduated from the school. It's funny how things come back around because probably about maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I had ran into him and I told him this story, and the funny thing is he remembered it, and
Wow.
I'm like, wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah, that is. Okay, that's what's
Yeah.
up. Do you think you'll get a chance to work with him? Did you guys get to work together at all since then?
No, we haven't had a chance to work together yet, but I would love to. Shout out to Dallas. Dallas, if you watching, holla at me, man. Let's do it.
Now, earlier you were talking about how sometimes family doesn't necessarily understand what type of career path you're trying to take, or they don't even understand your career at all.
Hmm.
Were they supportive of you when you decided, like, hey, now I want to be a singer or I want to be in the music industry? And also, I guess this is a twofold question. Aside from that, were you out of high school when you decided to do this, or was this something that you were pursuing while you were in school?
Uh, the very beginning, I was still in high school when I decided that I really wanted to do music. But I didn't really take the full steps until I graduated to really make it into a career. But then the process, yeah, I've had some support. My mom has been supportive. My grandmother, she was very supportive and still is. They both still are. But you know, as anybody would probably guess or even go through, it's hard to again get that support from those who really don't understand it. They might they might they might say certain things, or or hey, I love you, but it's a tough game. It's a
Yeah.
tough game. And if you don't have a support system, you have to support yourself. You have to uplift yourself. You have to inspire yourself. And sometimes it's really a thing of those who don't know you at all. They can be total strangers, would be the ones that support you the most, you know?
Yeah, I
But
totally
to
agree.
me, it's not even really about the support system. It's really about, do you believe in this enough? Because it all starts with you at the end of the day. If you don't believe in your craft enough, nobody else will. So that's really what it starts with.
All right. So, for those who don't know, can you tell us what college you graduated from? Because you said you took those steps. So, for those who don't know, what did you go do after high school?
So when I graduated high school, I first went to SAE Institute, which is more of a quote unquote private college in Atlanta. And they have other schools across the country too, but specifically in Atlanta, I went to SAE for a audio certification, preferably Pro Tools, Logic, that whole thing. And then shortly after that, I went to the Art Institute of Atlanta, which I got the bachelor's from in audio as well. So that was a cool experience. I actually finished in 3 years for a 4-year program because I was, just trying to get through it as fast as I could.
Hustler mentality again.
Yeah, just that hustler mentality, but
Yeah.
also I was pretty advanced because by the time I got there, I was already working with some prominent people. So the interesting part was my professors kind of found some of that stuff out, and they were like, "Well, how did you do this? How did you do that?" Like, I'm kind of sometimes teaching the class on how to work SSL boards and stuff like that. So, but it was a pretty cool experience.
That's awesome. Did they have you teach the class?
Um, a couple instances, like, and I wouldn't say necessarily teach the class, but just kind of showing them techniques that I've learned outside of school that they may not have known, or maybe it's just certain things that the professors weren't showing them. So, you know, it was my whole thing was, I didn't want to be the guy that thought that he knew everything, because I mean, of course I couldn't be, but even outside of the classes, people would just ask me stuff and ask me, how did you do this and how'd you do that? And, I'm no stranger to telling people information. So I'm like, hey, here it goes.
I love that you're a student of your craft. Like, I love that when people are just very as humble. You're humble. That's all I gotta say. You're humble, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that
Thank
about
you.
you.
Thank
So
you.
this you're welcome. This next segment is called Digging Deeper, and during this segment, I'll ask you some thought-provoking questions about your personal life and your career, well, your music career. So, even though we've already kind of digged into some of that, after you separated, well, one, why did you separate from the group that you were in? And after you separated, what were the steps that you took to become a single artist or someone that's not in a group?
That's a good question. So I think in the beginning, because the group situation was totally new for both of us at that time, it was just a lot of ego involved, a lot of miscommunication, misunderstanding, and you know, also we both already had our careers already going. I had mine, he had his, and sometimes it's kind of hard to mesh the two when you're used to doing things on your own, way. Somehow, some way, something's going to get lost in translation,
Right.
and that's kind of what happened. For I would say maybe a year or so, or a year and some change. We weren't communicating. We disbanded the group. It was kind of that type of energy, but as time moved on, we squashed it, and we came back together, and now we're best of friends. But I think sometimes you got to take time away from that situation to understand where you want to go and, become a better person, become a better man, and understand, you know, how to maneuver and make things work, you know? And it doesn't have to end in bloodshed, and that's I think that's, where the growth comes in. So that's kind of where things, started from, for me to kind of catapult my solo artist career. Because once that single charted on the Billboard chart, it wasn't until probably a year and some change later that I released my solo single, and
Oh,
then it was up from there.
okay. Did you decide to get signed at that time? Have you ever been signed?
So I've been signed to major record labels, mostly on publishing deals and songwriting deals, not necessarily as an artist. But even as an artist, I didn't want to sign a deal with a label for that, because my whole thing was you have to create your leverage first, and of course your demand, but then also you have to be smart with what you're signing. Is this a situation that strictly for the money? Is it strictly for them pushing you a certain way? Is it for the notoriety? What's really your goal here? And my whole thing is I don't really do things for the money a lot of times. I do things because this is my life. This is my career. This is what I love to do. Right?
Right.
And you want your music to translate to real fans, real people that are looking for you. It has nothing to do with signing a deal to manufacture something, and that's what I didn't want to happen. Is I don't want anything manufactured. Everything about me is organic, it's authentic, because this is what I've built, from the ground up. So, that's pretty much why I never signed with a major yet as a solo act. And just really holding out for that right situation. So, things are kind of falling into that format now. So it's all blessings.
That's what's up. And for our listeners who might want to dig deeper into this and because they're going after a music career, what's the difference between a publishing deal or did you say a distribution deal? Did you say that too?
So, well, I'll just give you the different ones that
Okay.
you can technically sign for. So, of course, you have your publishing deals.
Okay.
You have your distribution deals, of course. You have your admin deals. You have your writer producer deals, and then, of course, you have your artist deals.
All
Um,
right. And what's the difference between publishing and distribution?
So publishing is your rights to your music. So if let's just say you had a song and someone else wrote the song for you, but you're the artist, 9 times out of 10 they're going to get the biggest piece of the pie, publishing wise or percentage wise, because they wrote the song. So you're not really going to see much from that on the percentage side. But also too, if you don't own the master recording of that song, then you're not really going to get much of the situation anyway, because you
Hmm.
don't own it. So publishing is pretty much the ownership. Now on the distribution side, that's pretty much what it is, distribution. So they're distributing your music to all platforms. That's pretty much what it is.
Okay. And so what is the fight, I guess, like you see these artists, they're like, "Oh, I'm in a bad situation. I don't own the rights." Or maybe they're just like, "I signed a bad deal." Is normally that because you signed over everything or you sign a distribution deal? Like why are they fighting a fight against their own music to get something back from the label?
9 times out of 10, they signed over their rights to
Mm,
the label. Um, Unfortunately, sometimes you might sign a deal that requires you to give them rights to your music, and they might have gave you a big advance up front for that. Or, every deal is different, but most of the time, artists are signing their rights away. And I think right now, the statute of limitation is 35 years to get your rights back.
That's a long time. They could be making
Yes.
millions of dollars off of you for 30 years.
Yeah, and I mean, every contract is different. There's so many different details to it. Is it strictly for a certain amount of time? Is it including um, you know, merchandise, touring, a royalty rate? It's so many different, aspects to it.
That is crazy. Well, good luck to everyone out there that's in the industry chasing a dream. Man.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be smart about it, and I tell people all the time, at this point in the game, there really is no excuse to not having information because information is readily available. It's everywhere. It's just you have to do your due diligence to be aware of what's happening, and you have to want to know what's happening, and you have to seek information. Don't always seek information that's on the internet. Like, actually go talk to somebody, go learn from somebody that did something great, and understand what they did right and understand what they did wrong. And not to say that you have to implement every little thing, but you got to learn from all these different situations, because the biggest part of it is the music industry is mostly about business, right? So if that's the case, you have to learn every piece of business that there is in regards to the music business, right? So understand your contractual obligations, understand about how you get paid, understand about your rights, understand about how to register your music properly. All these different things you got to learn.
That's absolutely true. I feel like that's true for anything that you do. If I'm a journalist, I gotta understand everything about journalism or I'm gonna get got too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, what are some songs that you created that been nominated for Grammys?
Okay. I'm pretty sure people have heard Dangerous by Meek Mill, PNB Rock, Jeremiah.
Yep, yep.
People have heard Justin Bieber, Purpose and Company from his Purpose album. Um, Let me see, because I've done so many records.
I mean, that's enough right there.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. Yeah.
That's awesome. What, in your opinion, do you think people should end up getting record deals if the deal is right, or do you think people should go the independent route?
It's a good question.
Thanks.
I think I think people have to go with what makes sense for you. I really can't tell someone what deal they should be signing or what they shouldn't be signing, but it all depends on what's your expectations. Where do you see yourself going? What makes the most sense for you? Now, me personally, I think things are now kind of in favor of the independent artist. So, in most situations, you really don't need to be signing with a major label, because everything right now is catered towards your audience. Like, and because let's just say you did sign a deal with a major label.
Yeah.
Before they even sign you, they're going to do a deep dive into you. They're going to want to see, do you actually have an audience? Do you actually have demand? Are people actually buying from you? Are people actually streaming you? And we're not talking about bots and all the manipulation. We're talking about people who actually are buying and listening, right? Because you got to think about it. At the end of the day, the music labels are business. They want to make money, right? And if you're someone that isn't making any money, then what's the ROI? So my thing would be, instead of going through that, just continue to build your audience, continue to build your relevancy, your demand, your brand, your name. Those are the things that make you as the entity. And once you have enough built and enough leverage, then you can go to the table and negotiate what's best. But in the beginning, You got to build.
Brick by brick.
Yeah, brick by brick.
Why did you decide to create Humble Records?
Yeah, shout out to my baby, Humble Sound Records, man. I've always been a person that, even from a young age, I've always saw myself as being a mogul. And within being a mogul, that entails many, many obligations and wearing many hats. And, having your own imprint is one of those obligations. And you know, Humble Sound Records is pretty much a label and an imprint that lets you be you. It lets you be creative enough to express yourself how you want to as a artist and as a creative. We don't stifle artists. We don't tell them exactly what they need to be doing all the time. Of course, it has to make sense, but we don't micromanage your art. We want you to be creative as much as possible, and then we figure out how to put that into the world. And, the name Humble Sound Records came about because I've always been a advocate of knowing that everybody has humility inside them, all of them, and everybody has greatness inside them. It's just about you bringing that out to the highest, you know, ability that you possibly can. But in order to do that, it takes humility. It takes drive. It takes passion. It takes consistency. And that's the whole point of Humble Sound Records is we all are driving and striving to be the greatest version of ourselves. But in order to do that, we have to be humble and we have to be gracious and we have to be appreciative that we're even able to do it. And that's what birth Humble Sound Records.
I love that. I love that. How do you have any artists signed? And if so, how many do you have signed to your label right now?
Yes, yes, we have a couple of artists on the roster. So we have an artist by the name of Sophia Habib. She's out of the Netherlands. Great artist. We have another one. Her name is Shina. She's also out of the Netherlands. We have Tanisha Kelly, pop star. We have Truth Hurts, R&B pop star, soul singer, Robin S. And also, we have other artists that we deal with in the interim. Those are pretty much the foundational artists.
Great. I can't wait to have them on my podcast too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, do you think that social media hurts an artist or can hurt, or do you feel like it's just great for people to use their social media as an artist?
It has its pros and cons. I think social media is great to connect with those all over the world that you would have never had a chance to meet or speak to, or
Hmm.
any type of connection. I think that is a great additive. The the cons come in where it can be overwhelming. Um it can be a bad situation when people use social media for negativity. They use it for evil. I think that's the bad part about it. But at the same time, you got to use it. You got to use social media to your advantage, not only, but you have to use it in the ways that work for you. Now, we all know that there's a plethora of platforms in the social media bubble, right?
For
So you
sure.
use each platform to your leisure. But even if you're someone that uses all platforms, you have to use them to your advantage because each platform has a different algorithm. Each platform has a different way of working itself. And you have to use it that in a way that works for you. Instagram is probably going to be totally different than X,
Yeah.
or it's going to be totally different than Facebook. So, you know, just don't be one of those people that use it for evil. Use it to and I don't want to sound like a preacher or somebody that's like trying to, be the savior of everybody, but use it for some type of good. That's
Agreed.
that's what that's what we need in the world right now is just positive energy.
Definitely, for sure. I also think that because each of them are so different, or to piggyback off of you, you can't expect the same crowd or the same group of people to be
Right.
the same on Facebook compared to Instagram. Like the people that follow my Instagram page are not the same people that follow my Facebook. And it's a different
Exactly.
age group too. So you might be catering to like some millennials over here and then catering to older people on Facebook. So, yeah,
Exactly. Yep.
totally agree.
Yep.
Who are your top five dead or alive favorite artists in the industry? It could be people that you look up to.
That's always a hard question. Uh, man, okay. You said dead or alive.
Yes,
So
yes.
top five. Okay. Michael Jackson would be number one. Um,
Duly noted.
yeah, yeah, definitely Michael. Number two would be Tribe Called Quest. Number three would be Kanye West.
Okay, two more. Or that's it. You only got three in you.
Number four, probably Whitney Houston.
Wow. Okay. I love Whitney.
Five would be this is always the hard one. I'll go with somebody more current because, you know, I just feel strongly about the artist, but I would say The Weeknd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. As the last one, The Weekend. Why do you feel that way about The Weekend?
Because I've seen his progression throughout the years. I
Mhm.
think he's an amazing talent. I think that he's one of those people that are very eccentric with his art, but also very visual with his art. And I can appreciate that. Similar to a Kanye West. Very, very eclectic, very, very visual, but you know, kind of unorthodox in a way as well. And I appreciate that with artists that are like that because my mind and my creative mind is very unorthodox too, and I don't really go with the norm. Like anything that's left field or anything that's going against the grain, I kind of lean towards that because that tells me that you're not you're not really fixated on what is popular. You're going with what you feel, and that's what I admire the most.
Okay, that's what's up. Now, earlier you mentioned you worked on some songs with Meek Mills and you worked with Justin Bieber. How was it
Hmm.
working with Justin Bieber?
Super cool and real chill. Like he's a super chill kind of guy. This was at the time where he was like almost like really at his peak. He was one of the hottest things smoking.
Yeah,
That was a great time to work with him. But even past that, he's just real easy to work with. It was a real simple process.
that's what's up. What is the latest song that you have out right now for those who might not know?
I got a couple of records right now. I have a single out right now called City Love, which features Brian McKnight Jr. That's kind of like one of the fan favorites right now.
It is
I
one
have
of
another
them.
single. Yeah, man. Shout out to Brian, man. I think it's probably, in my opinion, it's probably one of my best records. Um, I have another record out called One More Thing, which is myself and Robin S., which is doing very well. And I also have another single called All Night, which is myself and Cujo Goody of the Goody Mob. So yeah, we just keeping it rolling.
One thing that comes to mind for me is process. Like as a journalist and as a podcaster, I have a process when I'm like figuring out what to write. What is your process like since you're a songwriter, when you're creating music?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a process. It's
Mhm.
probably more just feeling.
Okay.
So, for example, if I'm just in that mode of almost like a free fall kind of mode. It's no telling where I'll take things. You know, I might go on a house record and then I'll go strictly to pop and then I'll go down to R&B and soul and then it's just whatever feels in here.
Mm.
But if if I'm kind of set on something, then most likely um I'm kind of going with the melody first because I'm more of a melody driven person. So I'm always kind of coming up with melodies first. And then once I kind of got a solid idea, then that's when the concepts come. Like exactly what do I want to talk about? And
Yeah.
then once the concepts come, then that's when the music production comes into play. So that's where the magic happens. The concepts is like the tip of the iceberg. And then, the music part is where the fun happens.
Okay, okay. Do you think you'll put out an album anytime soon?
Yes, yes. So that's actually what I'm working on right now. I'm working on my
Okay.
debut album. And it's funny because a lot of people don't even realize that I haven't released a full debut album yet.
Yeah,
They
you
they kind of
definitely
think that I
did.
have already, which is the funny part. I've only released EPs.
Yeah.
So this will be my debut album that I'm going to be releasing next year, probably sometime March or April-ish. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, it's gonna be a concept album.
Mhm.
And the name of the album is called Never Mind What They Said.
So this is gonna be like some positive type music. I love that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a mixture. Like it's definitely gonna be more up tempo.
Mhm.
It's gonna be probably probably the most vulnerable I've ever been on any of my projects.
Okay.
Yeah, it's some real stuff that is gonna be talked about on there. you know, but probably the most musical project that I've put out.
I'm
So I'm
excited
super
for
excited about that.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means next year we have to do an in-person interview.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the big bang.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So this next segment is called uncomfortable questions, and during this segment, I'll ask you either or questions. This is the fun part. But after you say whichever question that you want to take, then you have to give a reason why you're going to make this decision. So for my first one, I have going a month without bathing or going a month without brushing your teeth. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. I would say I would go a month without brushing my teeth. I gotta
Well,
bathe.
and why? Well,
I
you
mean, hey, look, cleanliness is next to godliness,
it is.
so I would rather, walk around smelling good and take a month off not brushing the teeth.
So if it was up to me, I'd probably choose brushing my teeth because if your teeth go bad, that creates some diseases going on in your body. So that, and I was
That's
part of the
true.
military, and so I did have to go around a month without taking a bath.
Mm, mm. I can see that. I mean, I both are bad.
I mean,
So it's
yeah,
like,
for sure. Imagine being around men and women, no shower, like the worst smell
oh
in the world.
yeah,
I promise you.
I can
I
imagine.
promise.
Oh, yeah, I know that's the worst.
Yeah, it smelled worse than seafood.
Woo. Jesus Christ.
All right, taking $20 billion in cash or getting 500K a month for the rest of your life. Why?
I would take the 500K a month. I would do that because for one, you taking that much cash like that is gonna open up so many problems. You don't know who would be coming after you for that. You don't know if you gonna be uh watched by the government because you got all that money like that. It's gonna be a whole lot of problems with that.
I feel that.
And where would you put all of that money?
Yeah, they're coming for you. They're
Where
gonna
would
get
you
their
where would you
check.
stash?
I don't know. Probably like in a Swiss bank account somewhere. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
It
just too much money to have on hand like that. Like I would
is.
rather, yeah,
It
I'll take that in increments.
agreed. Would you rather be married or have a long-term partner and why?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Yeah, everyone
You
says
know what? And some people would get in trouble for this answer, but I gotta be honest. I would take a long term relationship.
So will I. People are out here to get money, remember? I believe
I
in
mean
prenups. Yeah.
that, but also people are getting married for the wrong reasons these days, and
Mhm.
let's just be honest. I mean, marriage marriage licenses are contracts. It's
Mhm.
a business, and in business you have to protect yourself. And most of the time people are not protecting themselves in these contracts, right? So, as things are going these days, I don't think that's a contract I want to sign.
I like how you did that. For my final question of this game, sleeping on the beach or naked or sleeping in the forest naked?
I'll take
No
the beach.
clothes. You said
I'll
you'll
take
take
the
the beach?
beach
Why?
because I don't know what's in that forest. I don't know what's gonna come out of nowhere in that forest. It could be snakes, all kind of
Mhm.
stuff in there.
You could die easily. You could die.
Yeah, I'll take the beach. At least I know where I'm at.
That's true. That's true. I'm gonna choose the forest though because it's just I don't want sand to get everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go with the beach. I mean the
You know
forest.
what? I'm not a sand person either, but look, I'll take the sand versus
To stay
finding out something
alive.
else. Yeah, yeah, give me that.
All right, this final segment is called Rants with Sharice. And during this, you get to rant about whatever you want. It could be about not using washcloths, people not using the signal lights, music deals, whatever you want. But after you rant, you have to give our listeners a solution to fix the problem that you're ranting about. So go ahead and share your rant.
That's a good one. That's really is a good one. I'm trying to think of something good. You know what? I think especially in Atlanta, there is a lot of traffic, right? It's traffic galore. And, I complain about it damn near every day because I feel like it's like over capacitated right now. And it's just too many people on the road. I'm like, where are you guys going? Like, don't you guys have jobs? Like, what are we doing here? Right? It's just like any time of the day, it's just like cars everywhere. So I'm like, there has to be a solution. And I think that solution is it comes down to the people that are actually driving. Some people just don't need a license. Some people just don't need to be driving. Some people just don't know how to drive. Um, and plus two, it's hurting the actual roads. It's like the roads are like busted, potholes everywhere. So I'm
Man.
like,
So
it's
who wouldn't
like
have the license? So wouldn't like how would you take away people's license?
that's a great question. I think people need to be screened a lot more or
Okay.
need to be tested more thoroughly. Because it's like you could take a short driving test and okay, yeah, you know how to parallel park. Oh, okay, yeah, you know how to use a signal, and then okay, you got the license. To me, that's not very thorough,
Okay.
right? But then also too, you got a lot of older people driving that shouldn't be
Mhm.
driving either. So
That's
it's
here in North
like
Carolina.
it's like, how do you combat that?
I don't know. I agree with you. I think maybe like after you get a certain age, maybe you need someone to like go in the car with you for like a day or two. And they see how you drive, going to the grocery store and and then they're like, you know what? You don't need these, and they take them from you the next day.
Yeah, yeah, something has to give because it's like it's ridiculous.
Nah, I agree with that for real. When I was in Atlanta last summer, oh my gosh, that was terrible. I was only there for like 5 days and I complained every day about the traffic. And I took
And
Ubers
that's
everywhere.
Atlanta. And that's just Atlanta. Like imagine if you were in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is
Oh
worse than
yeah.
Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah. I heard. I heard about that. I've only been out there one time to Cali near LA, but that was just when I was in the military. So I gotta go check it out now as a civilian.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Hopefully, I'm not the one driving in it because it's just a no for me.
Look, whether you're driving or not, it's there.
Goodness. Well, before you go, can you please share your social media with our listeners and tell everyone where they can go and download your music?
Yes, so you can follow me all social media at James Artissen. Go to the website www.jamesartisan.com and subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Artisan. And you can find all things music wise, James Artisan, all platforms, Spotify, Apple, anything you got, search James Artisan, it'll pop up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you.
All right. And thank you for listening to Connect Like Minds.